This sector is now under my control. Stand down and prepare for Vega occupation.
Hello everyone, this is Captain Soban. Welcome aboard the Starship in Normal Prize for another episode of Homeworld FX Galaxy Ship Showcase Series. Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Taiidan. The Taiidan is it's pretty unique on how it works in this mod. I'll go more into details when we actually get done looking at the ship. Thank you very much, Bottle, for dancing for me. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. So at first, we're going to take a look at the fighters. For the fighters, you have your scouts, interceptors, and bombers. They're all pretty self-explanatory, but we'll take a closer look at them. So this in front of us are our scouts. They are your main reconnaissance vessels. They're not really designed for combat, kind of the same as the other scouts we've looked at. And their main objective is to go to locations, scout it out, and give intel to the Empire, so they know what to do in order to, fight off whatever you're trying to fight off. So nothing special about them. They're very fast, they're weak, and they don't do a whole lot of firepower. So next on our list is the Interceptor class. And the Interceptor is the main fighter versus fighter combat vessel. So it's slower than the Scout, has more armor, and does more damage. And comes with 5 ships instead of 3. So again, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, so it's really only good against other fighter class ships. Now next we have our attack bombers.
Copy.
Which are all of these are from the original Homeworld. And the attack bombers are your main anti-capital ship fighter class ships. They launch plasma bombs out of their little tubes right here, and the plasma bombs are really slow projectiles compared to kinetic cannons that the interceptors use, so they will not be able to be effective against fast-moving ships. So these guys are pretty much only useful against frigate-class ships and above, and any type of ship that isn't, anti-fighter. So no flak frigates, no assault frigates, stuff like that. And that's about it for the fighters. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Next, we will take a look at the Corvette class ships. So first up on our list is the Light Corvette. And the Light Corvette is the only Corvette class in the Taiidan group that actually comes with a squadron. So it comes with 3 ships. They are your main anti-fighter Corvette class. So they have 2 turrets in the front, so they can target fighters pretty easily, and they have the armor to go against large groups of fighter squadrons. They don't really have the firepower to go up against other corvettes, so they won't be able to handle like heavy corvettes or like missile corvettes or gunship corvettes, like stuff like that. They're really only designed as more of a heavily armored anti-fighter solution to whatever is going on. And then after that, we have the Heavy Corvette, which is one of my favorite corvettes in the Homeworld universe. This is a much heavily armored Corvette class ship. It also only comes with 1 per purchase instead of 3 like the Light Corvette. But it has a lot more armor. Like compared to the Light Corvette, the entire squadron of a Light Corvette has 1800 health, where a Heavy Corvette has 3400 health. Has about 6 times as much health as an actual Light Corvette. But its primary purpose is to fight other corvettes. Its turrets are a little bit heavier, so they're slower tracking, so they can't really keep up with the fast movement of a fighter class ship, but they don't really have the firepower to take off frigate class ships. In a large group, they probably could take down special frigates like infiltrator frigates, ion cannon frigates, like those type of ones, but against frigates that are designed against to take out strike craft, these guys won't be useful against. They're only going to be useful against like other corvettes, and they don't really have the firepower or the armor to go against large capital ships. So if the enemy brings in battle cruisers, don't use these guys. They will get wiped out because they're also very slow for Corvette class ships. So large cannons from like destroyers and whatnot will probably actually be able to target these guys and kill them pretty quickly. Okay, and next we have the Repair Corvette, which is from the original Homeworld and kind of special in this For this group, repair corvette can go out in the field and repair your fighters and corvettes. You can also repair your larger ships, but it's better for smaller ships because of its fast speed and small size. I do not know if it actually repairs faster or slower than the support frigate like it does in Homeworld 1, but it does have the ability to repair any type of ship. And it does have a defense gun somewhere on it. Because it does do a little bit of damage, but it's not going to be enough to hold off some sort of invasion. But it'll allow it to support itself for a bit until a fleet comes in to help protect it. And then last but not least, for the corvettes, we have the salvage corvette. And the salvage corvette, the Taiidan salvage corvette is my favorite one, because all it has is a gigantic magnet in front that it clamps to the enemy and then pulls it to wherever it's supposed to go, which I love that concept because it has like huge giant engines like the oh crap, what are they called in Star Wars, the those small little corvettes that have oversized engines, blockade runners, that's what they are. It reminds me of the blockade runners where it has oversized engines. Except in Star Wars, that's used to punch through a defensive line to get through like a blockade, which is why they're known as blockade runners. This is so they can pull gigantic ships, which is a handful of these giant salvage corvettes. So like ships like the heavy cruiser back here only needs a handful of these guys to clamp onto the heavy cruiser and control it with those giant engines. So yeah, I like these guys, but these are your main ships that are used to capture enemy vessels. In this mod, they board the enemy vessel instead of actually, clamping onto it and capturing them like it does in original Homeworld. And that's just because of how the engine works in this game. They had to convert it over so it acts more like Homeworld 2 than Homeworld 1. Anyways, that's all of the corvettes. Let's now take a look at the frigate class ships. So first up on our list is the support frigate, which is a more powerful repair frigate than the repair corvette. In original Homeworld 1, the repair corvette could dock a fighter class ship to heal it and refuel it, or a repair ship. The support frigate was actually able to handle, I think it was 10 fighters and might have been 3 or 4 corvette class ships. Like it would have 1, 2, I think it was 4. Like all these were corvette class docking modules, and then this up here was the fighter class docking module. But in Homeworld Remastered and Homeworld 2, they got rid of the fuel system, so you didn't actually have to worry about that. So this guy is just strictly for repairing the fleet now. It does have a couple turret defenses up in front to protect it against probably fighter class or corvette class invasions, but again, it's not really a combat vessel, so it's not going to last a long time in combat without some sort of a escort or help from the sidelines. Okay, and the next frigate we have is the assault frigate. The assault frigate is your main, in Homeworld 1, it was your main frigate versus frigate combat vessel. It controlled the front lines and went up against enemy frigate class ships. In this mod, he's been kind of converted over to anti-corvette and anti-frigate. So these turrets are fast tracking for their size, so they can track down the large corvette class ships like the heavy corvette and the salvage corvette and take them out with ease. It also has the plasma bombs, I believe, which are right here, which are used to hit frigate class ships because they're much slower than the turrets, and they're fixed mounted, so they can't actually be rotated. So the ship actually has to be facing the enemy. And since this is a frigate class ship, it has less maneuverability than a fighter and corvette class ship. So it's going to only use that against like frigate class. So this would be, if the enemy brings in like corvettes and frigates, you definitely want to use this in the mod. And now next we have my all-time favorite ship in the Homeworld universe, the ion cannon frigate. I don't know if I think I like this one better than the Kushan one. I still go back and forth between which one I like. I like this one because you can see the beam coming out of the sides when it launches. But anyways, the ion cannon frigate, all it is a ship with a built-in particle cannon and the ship is literally designed around that particle cannon, so everything on it is designed to cool that particle cannon so it can be used as much as possible. That means that this ship has low maneuverability, high armor, and it does a massive amount of damage against large capital ships. So frigates and destroyers is what you want to use these against, especially if you have a large group for a destroyer class, because even though a destroyer is designed to fight other frigate class ships, the ion cannon frigates can outgun them if there's enough of them. But yeah, this is your main anti-frigate ship, and against larger capital ships in a large group, it would be really good to use against enemies. Let me see if I can make that go away. Hee giant particle cannon. Anyways, the last one we have is the defense field frigate. Defense field frigate has no attack of its own. In Homeworld 1, this was used as a way to prevent fighters and corvettes. Nope, I'm actually thinking of a different frigate. I was thinking of the gravity well generator. But it was designed to protect the fleet against actually, I don't really know what this thing was used against because I don't really use it that much. So I can't really speculate on what it was used for. So let's go ahead and read what it's used for in this mod. Assistance frigate can block most attacks except for missiles. I think that's kind of what it was used for, but I don't remember. Again, I didn't really play the Taiidan much. I played Kushan a lot whenever I played Homeworld 1, so I'm not too familiar with the defense field frigate in the Homeworld 1 universe. But in this one, it is used as a hyperspace inhibitor to prevent enemies from hyperspacing within this range. So that's its primary purpose. So you can have a couple of these on the fleet, so people don't send in a giant fleet and hyperspace them on top of your fleet and destroy it. This will give them a little bit of range to where they can actually hyperspace on top of you. And in return, it also is used to block some attacks. So like some kinetic weapons from like the assault frigates or heavy cruisers or whatnot won't be able to go through the defense field. So less damage is actually taken from your ships. Anyways, that is all the frigate class ships. It also has no defenses on its own, so it's going to be an escort ship if anything. You don't want to just send this thing out on its own. It's not going to do anything. So let's move to the super capital ship class ships.
Ready.
So first on our list, of course, is the Taiidan carrier, which don't really have to explain too much about them. They're pretty self-explanatory. The Taiidan carrier can build up all of its fighters, corvettes, and frigates. Can't build super capital ships because it doesn't have a bay large enough to hold a super capital ship. It can also build the platforms and whatnot, which again, we'll go through more of those in a minute. Its harvesters, and its primary purpose is to either use what I like to use it for, have it up here to where it's like a docking area for most of your harvesters, an extra production area so you can pump out ships faster. It's a production level ship, so it's used to help expand the fleet either logistically or productively. And then next we have the
flagship
super capital ships, or the actual super capital ships. So first we'll look at is the Taiidan destroyer, which is again a really good looking ship. I really love the design of this ship. It has two particle cannons in the front. I believe they are normally they're over here on the wings, but I think it's right there and right there, and it has two dual kinetic cannon turrets on top. These ones are slow tracking, so they can't really track Corvette class ships unless it's like a heavy Corvette, a really slow Corvette class, or fighters. It's way too slow to target fighter class ships unless it gets really, really lucky. So these are mainly used against frigates. These would be used against other super capital ships. Now, in Homeworld 1, the destroyers are your main frontline ship. Generally, if you go into battle, you usually have a couple destroyers, and then you would have escorts keeping the destroyer alive. You actually don't escort with your super capital, with your like heavy cruiser or battleship or whatnot. Normally, these guys are the ones that are in the front line. So that's pretty cool. So if you were a commander of a destroyer class, you were going straight to the borderline or straight to the front lines and hope you survive. That's pretty much it. but he is mainly your super capital ship and frigate class ship. That's pretty much what he's good against. And then next we have the missile destroyer, which in Homeworld 1 was the exact opposite of the destroyer. It would launch fast-moving missiles that could take out fighters and corvettes, but they didn't have a whole lot of damage, so it wasn't good against frigates or above. Normally you would have this escorting with a destroyer, so it could provide support against like bombers and whatnot that would try to take out the destroyer, and then the destroyer would be there to protect the missile destroyer in case like frigates or another destroyer class comes in to try to wipe this guy out. But in this version, or this mod, it's still kind of the same. They're still good against fighters and corvettes, and they're weak against capital ships. But in this mod, or in Homeworld Remastered, they gave the missile destroyers a special ability called the Missile Volley, which allows the missile destroyer to launch its entire payload at once, so it can do a massive amount of damage against larger ships. So that's pretty cool. And also in Homeworld 1, your missiles were limited, so you would have a capacity, I think, of 32, so you can launch 4 at once. So you'd be able to launch a lot of missiles at once to do a lot of DPS until your capacity dropped down, and then you were limited to how fast the missile destroyer could produce missiles. So in Homeworld 1, they would do a whole lot of damage at once, but over a long-term battle, they were usually pretty bad, because they wouldn't be able to have the capacity to continuously launch all of their missiles at the same time. So just a little fun fact about Taiidan missile destroyers. Okay, and then last but not least, on the super capital ships, we have the heavy cruiser, aka the Corvette. Fun fact about this heavy cruiser, this heavy cruiser was so powerful back before the Homeworld Wars started, when Taiidan was ruthlessly taking over planets and taking over solar systems. Just the sight of this ship entering the system was enough to have planets completely surrender to the Taiidan, because nothing at the time was matched in firepower when it came to the heavy cruiser. So this was used more as a fear tool for the Taiidan Empire to help them expand their empire, which is pretty freaking awesome. But anyways, let us go to, I don't know why he has his ion cannons all the way turned around. That's kind of weird. Never mind. I just don't know how to look at things anymore. But the Corvette comes with 2 dual ion cannons, 2 on top, 2 on bottom, so a total of 4 heavy ion cannons, 6 heavy kinetic turrets that are about the third of the size of a frigate. So you have 1 here, 1 here, 1 on the right side. So this can handle the top, this can handle the bottom, and this can handle the side. And then same over here. 1 on top, 1 on bottom, 1 on side. And the heavy cruiser was designed to go up against other super capital ships and frigates. So frigates, super capital ships, and other heavy cruisers. It was a menace to be dealt with, and before all the Homeworld events started. But that's about it. It has absolutely no protection against fast-moving ships, so it has to have some sort of escort to help it against attack bombers or ion. It could probably handle ion cannons, but in large groups it might get overwhelmed. Well, I don't know. It could target 2 things at the same time, so that probably wouldn't be a threat. It's just the fast-moving ships and like the attack bombers and whatnot would probably be the main threat for this guy. And then a ship that is new to this mod is the Battleship. Now this ship is freaking amazing because it is super powerful. It kind of reminds me of the Dreadnought mixed with the destroyer. The Dreadnought from Homeworld 2 mixed with the Taiidan destroyer, which is right over here. But this guy is Taiidan's ultimate ship. It is very expensive to produce. It has a 2 triple-barreled heavy kinetic cannon turrets on top that are probably about as big as a frigate. They're really, really big. And then it has a phase cannon in the front for its main damage distribution. And then it also has, which is kind of hard to see, let me see if I can get a little closer. It has dual ion cannons on the side. Nope, there's single ion cannons. There's a single ion cannon over here on the left and a single ion cannon over here on the right. And it also has a bay to stock a couple of fighter squadrons or Corvette squadrons to send into battle. This thing is very powerful. I think it even has more health than the mothership. It does. So this ship is very powerful, very deadly, and it will take a pretty good sized fleet to actually take it down. Its weaknesses, I would definitely say, are fighters and corvettes, which is why it has that bay, because it has ion cannons that will target like frigate class ships. These kinetic cannons here on top are probably really slow, so they can probably only target other frigates or capital ships. And it's got that phase cannon to wipe out like battle cruisers or dreadnoughts. Very powerful, very deadly, and obviously you can only build one of these. But yeah, this guy is, as it says over here, super capital ship, anti-capital ship. It is very powerful. Okay, but its weakness would probably be against other like attack bombers, maybe. It's got a lot of cannons, so a large group of frigates it could probably handle. It's got the health to handle that too. So I would say probably its main weakness would be anti-fighter and maybe large groups of battle cruisers. But it can handle just about anything you throw it at it, assuming it's not like a 5 or 10 group of the enemy. Okay, and then next we have the platforms, which I like how they did the platforms in this mod. The first platform we have is the Defender, which is actually a fighter class ship. But in this one, it is your gun platform, which you can move because it works just like the normal Defender anywhere you want. So you can build a couple of these to escort like the Battleship or the heavy cruiser, and it'll just be used like a gun platform. I like how they actually did that, because to me the Defender always had a weird role in the original Homeworld. It was a heavily armored, slow-moving fighter class that did a lot of damage against fast-moving targets because it could use its maneuvering engines to target the enemies really well. So I like the fact they actually made him a Defender or a platform class in this version. So this is the only platform that you get for offensive reasons, that you can use to defend areas or escort ships that need some anti-fighter protection. And then next we have the Defense Fighter, which in Homeworld 1 was used as a kind of like a shield around some of your ships. It doesn't do any damage. I mean, technically it doesn't do any damage, but what it does is it blocks kinetic cannons from hitting the enemy target, or hitting an allied target. So if the enemy was shooting a bunch of weapons, this will shoot a fine laser from this dome and hit that target and destroy it. So in this mod, it's more for blocking like enemy missiles from impacting the ship. So this would be really useful against like the Vaeger battlecruiser with that heavy missile volley. It can be used to block some of those missiles so it doesn't do so much damage against your heavy cruisers or battleship, or the other like missile ships that I can't think of on top of my head. Like the torpedoes from the Higaran destroyer, you can block those. But yeah, this guy just provides some defense. It also has the ability to detect enemy cloaked ships, which is what this is for here. So it's also like a portable proximity sensor. And now the last platform that we're going to look at is the sensors array, which if any of you guys ever played Homeworld 1, this allows you to see every enemy on the map, regardless of where they are. In this mod, it's good, or it does that, but it's not quite as big as it was in Homeworld 1. Like the enemy is right over here, and I can't actually see them at the moment, but it gives you a large sensor radius of 25,000 meters, which is still pretty darn good. That's about right there. So it's a quarter of the map. That is still really, really well. And you'll be able to see any enemy within a 25,000 radius around this area. I don't know what else to say. It doesn't have any weapons to defend itself, so it's purely a main sensor thing, which is good because you can't actually build probes or whatnot on this team. You have your scouts are like normal, but you don't have any probes. This is your main way of seeing the enemy from a safe distance. Okay, and then the last ones we're going to look at are the harvester, which in this one they're actually really compact. They got rid of like half of the cargo area, which means that your harvesters fill up faster, and when they dock they don't really give you a whole lot of RUs. So it might take a little bit to get your money going when you first start out with this team. But I actually kind of like the way they look without the giant cargo bay on the back. They look cuter and more compact. And then last but not least, we have our resource controller, which from Homeworld 1, this is your resource docking area. It doesn't have any weapons to defend itself, but it can dock, I think, 2 ships at the same time, one on top and one on bottom. And your harvester's just docking here, and you get the money whenever they dock into the ship. And in Homeworld 1, this actually also used to be kind of like a repair station for your fleet. Because in Homeworld 1, your resource controllers not only were like an area for your harvesters to dock in, but it was also a refueling area for your fighters and corvettes. So as you can see here, you could dock 2 corvettes and 6 fighters onto it and repair and refuel them all at the same time while maintaining your harvesting area. So there's a lot of cool things in Homeworld 1 that I got rid of in Homeworld 2. And yeah, I sometimes miss it. But anyways, that's every single fighter, corvette, that's every single ship that you can build. Well, almost every single ship. There's a couple I haven't covered, but I'll be talking about them right now. And last, because what else we also have, because I haven't also talked about how the research system works with this team. Because the way it works, in Homeworld 1, you used to have to build a research ship and then research the ships that you wanted to actually produce for your fleet. They kind of took that same strategy with the Taiidan. So,
Copy.
When you start the game, you start out with the research ship automatically. You don't actually have to build it unless you lose it. And the research ship, you build modules on it. So your fighter module, which unlocks your fighter class ships. Plasma bomb unlocks your bombers. Heavy fighter module unlocks your defense fighter, blah, blah, blah. And then once you get Corvette module, you can go to one of your carriers, which is here.
Awaiting assignment.
And then you're able to build the research station, which is this guy right here. And the research station allows you to produce modules for larger capital ships. So ion cannon module unlocks ion cannon frigate. Defense field module unlocks defense field frigate. Capital ship unlocks destroyers, blah, blah, blah. And the thing about that is if you lose this research station, you will lose the ability to build all these ships. So without the research station, you can only build fighters and corvettes. Without the research ship, you can't build your fighters and corvettes. You can only build frigates and above. So it's still pretty important to keep all these things going and alive. And I think once you get your, I think it's actually from the research station that we build this. Yeah. And once you get the research station built, you can build your shipyard, which is this guy right here. Now, the important thing about the shipyard is it allows you to build your battleship because it has a massive construction bay. And not only can you build your battleship, but you can also build 2 ships at the same time. So the shipyard is very important for building your most powerful capital ship and for improving production so you can build certain ships out that you need for your fleet. So one of the main advantage of the Taiidan is the fact that their ships are pretty cheap and build pretty quickly. For instance, like frigate class ships, your assault frigate is 575 RUs. Normally that's around 800, 900 for like Higarans and whatnot. Your destroyer is 1,000 RUs. Normally that's 1,500 to 2,000. So your heavy cruiser is 2,400. In Homeworld 1, that was 3,700. So your ships are very cheap. I think that the battleship's like 5,000 RUs. Your ships are very cheap and they build quickly, but the only problem about that is they're also not as powerful compared to like Vaegir or progenitors or whatnot. Like for instance, your heavy cruiser has 120,000 health. For a battle cruiser class, that's actually not a whole lot of health. And does 2,000 damage. Most battle cruisers do about 4,000 to 5,000 damage. So, oh shoot, gotta skip that song. Gotta love copyrights. So it's kind of whenever I play as the Taiidan, you want to focus on numbers. You want to overwhelm the enemy with large amounts of numbers, because that's also kind of how the Taiidan worked. They would overwhelm the enemy with large numbers that the enemy wasn't able to be ready for, and they would surrender their planets to them. So it makes sense that that's how this this team actually works. Okay, and for the difficulty of playing this, I would put them on medium. It takes a little bit to get all the research and stuff going, because you have to build the research ship, the research station, and then shipyard in order to build everything that you want to build. But once you get a fleet going, and once you actually get stuff going, it's not really that difficult to pick up. So I wouldn't say that this is a very, very difficult fleet to get used to. I will say it's probably a little bit more difficult than the Vega, but it's not too difficult to where it requires like hours of practice to get the team down and get good at it. Anyways, guys, I think that's everything for the Taiidan on this mod. I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like if you did. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. If you want to check some more stuff out that I like to do, I do have a second channel called Captain Soban's Other Games. I'll have a link in the video description, where we are playing Tales of Arise right now, which is an amazing story-driven RPG. I absolutely love it, and I hope you guys hop on over to enjoy some of it as well. Anyways, guys, until next time, this is Captain Soban signing out.
This is the garden of Kadesh. For 13 generations we have protected it from the unclean. If you have come to join me, welcome you, and will spare you your ship until all have disembarked. If you have come to consume the garden, you will be removed at once. What are your intentions?